Well, hey there, it's Angie. Thank you for joining me again for some more tatting lessons. Last video, we learned how to make a chain. So there's our little thing of our string of rings. Sure, we like alliteration, or rhyming. That's not alliteration. So this time, let's talk about making a chain. So for this lesson, you're going to need 2 shuttles or a ring and a ball. Oh, it's going to be one of those. Or you need a shuttle and a ball. At any rate, you need 2 threads, preferably different colors, same size. And so I've got a purple and a gray. And hopefully that's showing up okay, because if not, we can change the background because we are fancy like that. So let's see if that shows up a little better. I like it better. Let's use the darker one. Okay. So that's just a weight, so maybe it doesn't move so much. Okay. So we've got our threads. These are both size 10, I do believe. And what we want to do is just tie the ends together. Any old tie, any old knot, it doesn't matter. We are just practicing. We are just learning. In a later video, we're going to talk about tatting over our tails and starting a knotless direction, a knotless way. But for this, you need 2 shuttles or a ball and a shuttle. And what I want you to do is I want you to have 2 separate colors and then tie them together. So if you have a ball, I hope you have a ball. Have a ball. No. If you have a ball, you can have a purple thread connected to a gray ball. It doesn't matter. Pretend this is a ball. It doesn't matter. Okay? But we're going to start with the purple thread because I think it's going to be easier to see than that dark purple on camera. I'm sorry. We're going to start with the gray thread. Gray thread. I didn't do my mouth exercises before I started just talking. Oh, okay. Gray thread. What we're going to do, actually, scratch that. We are going to start with purple thread because sure we are. Why not? That's awesome. That's my insulin pump alarming at me and yelling at me. We're going to make a quick ring here. We're going to make a ring. Let's go 6 double stitches just real quick. You've learned on a previous video how to make a ring, so it's just easier than starting with a chain. Okay, so under, over, pull it down 1 and snug it really close to that knot. 2, 3, 4, ow, stab yourself, 5, 6, not going to be enough, keep going, pretend you said 7 to begin with, 7, nobody's looking, do 8, couple more, 9, and 10. That's a great number. Let's stop at 10, okay? So we have 10 double stitches on our ring. We're going to post our shuttle front to back. Hold as many as we can in the pinch. Pull, pull, pull. We didn't pull on the shuttle. No, we didn't. They didn't see that. Pull, pull, pull. Pull on the shuttle. Thread, not on the shuttle. Good habits, good habits. All right. And we're pulling around to 7 o'clock. And there's our ring of 10 double stitches. Isn't it cute? Okay, so now what we need to do, most of the time you reverse work in between a ring and a chain. Very simple. All it does, think of this as a head. We're going to talk about ring head Joe in the next video, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. So heads up, reverse work, top becomes bottom, bottom becomes top, heads down. Reverse work. This is heads up, heads down. That's it. And then if you look at your threads coming out, not your tails, pretend they don't exist. If you look at your thread, head down, get your tails out of the way so people can see what you're talking about. If you look at your threads, the thread that's on the top is the gray, and that's the color that it's going to be. You can see the flip better probably in doing a chain than you can in a ring, but to me the most important thing that I struggled with the most on the ring was the sliding, making sure that they slid, and that's why I start teaching the ring. I think it's a lot easier to see that part of it. So to make a chain, hold your ring for all intents and purposes. Hold whatever you're holding in the pinch gently. Okay. Now, to make a ring, we went all the way around and back up into the pinch. To make a chain, we're going to go around, and then we're going to go the opposite way a couple times around the pinky. Some people, again, this is all preference. So you go around, and then I choose to go in between my middle, or in between my ring finger and my pinky, and then I just go counterclockwise around my pinky. I do it once, and then I bend my pinky over that to hold the tension. See? This is my loom for a chain. Again, you want whatever fingers, if you're doing the other pinch. Ooh, Lord. Feels very awkward. There you go. There's the other pinch. But you want this bit of real estate to stay open. This is the most important part. So whatever between your pinch and the next finger, that's where you want that to stay open. And that is the hardest part. And then you, as you can see, I kind of put my thread on that first knuckle there. And you don't want this to be so tiny that you're like this. You want a good bit of real estate, just like you did for the ring. Okay, now you've set up your loom. This is the core thread. It'll be running through the core. So this will be the color of the chain. Okay, I know it's all very cool. Now I've got like 1.5 feet and a mile of thread here. So you need to choke up on this other shuttle. Okay, that's a little too much. So maybe like that. Okay, it's still going to be a little too much, but that's okay. And because I made a knot, this isn't going to look real great. So just bear with me. We'll do another one. It'll look better. Okay. Same exact thing though. When you're making, this is set up for a chain. Down around your hand, around your pinky. Just something to hold this tension. And then if you practice and you're good, you can let the tension out and kind of lift up and sort of feed, if you will. Kind of like you do when you do crochet and knitting kind of thing. It becomes your tensioner, and it just will feed from this bottom one. You'll see. Same exact motions of the stitches though. Okay, ready? Remember, first half scoop. Doesn't matter how many fingers you're scooping around, you're scooping. You go under. Lost that thing again. All right, try again. Scoop. Go under. Over. Flip that stitch. Pull it tight. And you pull it all the way down to the knot. Like I said, you made a big ugly knot right there, so it's not going to look super great, but that's okay. Second half, same exact thing as when we were making a ring. Over, under, pull that shuttle thread tight and that stitch will flip, see? And it's easier to see, I think, the stitch flipping on a chain because you got two different colors first of all. So there is your first. So you got one leg, two leg, belt loop. Okay, and that dark background is kind of swallowing up this thread. So let's try going back to the lighter one. And I do apologize for that. Obviously, I'm not a professional. So you get what you get. As my nieces and nephew when they were younger would say, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. But do provide feedback for me. I do appreciate that. So here we go. Ready? Scoop. Under. Over. Here comes the flip. Flip. See it flip? And then down into the pinch. Again, over, under, flip. See it flip? Down into the pinch. Now I'm going to not flip it so you can see when you pull it down. See how those stitches are gray and that one's purple? Plus it looks a little wonky. Those are unflipped. That is an unflipped stitch and it's very easy to see in a chain. I'm trying to hide that knot because it's very ugly. So retro tat that, get that out of there. Come on, little buddy. Come on, little buddy. Okay. And then I'm just going to pull it out because you don't have to take it all the way back out. You can leave it on and then just flip. See how it flipped? Flip that stitch and down. And see now you've got a lovely chain stitch that looks just like the rest of them. So that's 2.5. Over under for the, and here comes the flip, flip. See, that's 3. Don't count that knot. That knot's an ugly, ugly knot. It doesn't count for anything. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go ahead and do 4, maybe 5. There's 4. There goes my pump again. I'm sorry about that. Same thing here. You can do accidental picots. If you don't snug those stitches up, they become accidental picots. So try to be consistent and consistently make your stitches. Now this color's showing up really nice, so count your belt loops or your double bumps or however you're counting your stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's half as many as we did for the ring. And then you can see these are kind of straight. Most chains want to naturally curve, so what you do is, we call it snugging them up. So you gently hold them like you're closing your ring and just gently pull on your shuttle thread and kind of curve them around. Now I only have 5 stitches, so it's not going to be super curvy. But you can see it kind of makes an arch. And again, your tails will be in the way, but that's okay. Okay, so we're going to reverse work again. So head down, head up, top becomes bottom, bottom becomes top. And if you look, you're set up because your top thread is your purple, and that's the one you're wanting to make your rings out of. Don't get too hung up on which shuttle is which, and just say that purple is your ring shuttle, because that's not always the case. So just keep that in mind. But for right now, that will be the case. So we're going back and we're going to do another ring. So we want to set up for a ring. Do this kind of quickly here because we've already done rings. Set up for a ring, and then just first stitch. And then I will say on this first stitch here, you want to make it as close to the buddies and as similar to the buddies as you can get it. I know it doesn't look like it now, but you can kind of see the height of that stitch in relation to the gray one, where it stops there, kind of. Can you see it? And that's pretty close to the same. So hold that in the pinch again, and then second half. And we're going to do 10 more, and we're going to do them pretty quickly. 2, 3, get my loom a little bit bigger. 4, 5, 6, and just shove that out of the way. Just keep that out of the way. It's okay. Now, you see kind of I did a little do-si-do because this was getting caught up. We don't want this all in our work. We want this to stay out of the way. So this, everything stays in its own lane. Okay? So keep an eye on your stuff under there. Sometimes it gets a little too friendly with each other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9. Boy, that's fuzzing out. I apologize. 10. Good thing we're not learning rings. Okay, there's 10 double stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? Post our shuttle, just because it's good practice. Pull on the shuttle thread. Get all of your fingers out of there. Pull. Pull. And there you are. Now you can see my last stitch, for whatever reason, because it wanted to. Well, if you could see my last, there you go. Kind of rolled inwards. See my very last stitch kind of rolled inwards? Sometimes it'll do that on you. And sometimes if you do the floofy dance with the right amount of floofing, you can pull that a little bit back out. I think it's just because I pulled it too hard, too closed. But you can do the little floofy dance. And there you go. So we've made 2 rings and a chain. I'm trying to hold it so you can see it, but it's very wonky. Okay, so let's reverse work again. So heads down. Look at read our tatting. This is how you read your tatting. It's set up for a chain. This thread is ready to be the core thread. So we're going to set this one up, remember, around the back of your hand, in between and around your pinky. Now some people put a lot on their pinky. Some people, like me, just do the one. You get a groove. You can kind of tell I got a little groove. I've been tatting a lot. My groove has kind of got a little rope burn on it. But there you go. There's that. And then I'm going to show you just real quick here. Got to choke up a bit on it doesn't take as much thread to make a chain as it does a ring. Now, this space, we don't want gaposis. We don't want there to be a gap, a gaping gap there. So sometimes, especially with thicker thread or whatever, if I know that if I'm having trouble, you can just do the second half of a stitch. Just throw that right in and really work it into that space. Come on, people, work with me. Okay, there. And just sort of tuck that down in and just really work it down into that space. And so that all that space is taken up. And then just start your first, and then start counting. 1. And it kind of takes up a little bit of that gaposis. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes I didn't do a good job. And so you still have the gaposis. because I can see that that's pulling right there. So we're going to take that out. And this is just where you practice. You practice reversing your work. You practice snugging up your chains. You practice having good, consistent tension. You practice, practice, practice. And this is just the learning curve of tatting. Some of us retro tat, I being a champion retro tatter, untatter, whatever you'd like to call it. Sometimes it's just fun to retro tat. I mean, don't tell anybody, they'll think you're nuts. But so again, you just sort of holding everything in the pinch. You want to get that first stitch as close as you humanly possible. So even if you didn't do that second, that little tip I showed you, just do first half. So under, over, pull it back through, flip that stitch and snug it and just walk it. See how I'm just walking it? Walk it right down into there just as, oh, it doesn't want to stay there. Okay, just as close as you can. And then just hold it in the pinch. Do the second half. Okay, let's do like 3 or 4 more so we can come back and look at it a little bit closer. And as you can see, I'm kind of doing this unconsciously. I'm just kind of feeding it. I just loosened my tension a bit, and I had enough of a tail going to my second shuttle that I just was able to make that loom bigger without really a whole lot of thought and a whole lot of movement. But if you do, I just pull on that, and see how I'm making it smaller? My fingers up here are getting smaller, closer together. By pulling on it. Same kind of idea with a ring. Okay. I just use that as my tensioner. Just be careful because you can give yourself a good amount of rope burn. And that's not enough thread, so let's try that again. Scoop, under, over, flip that stitch, pull it down, over, under, flip that stitch, pull it down, scoop, under, over, flip, down, over, under, flip, down, scoop, under, over, flip, down, over, under, flip, down. There goes my pump again. 1, 2, 3, 4 double stitches. Let's get that closer to the camera so you can count too. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's make it a little longer so we can see here. And like, see what I just did? I loosened that out just by doing like that and pulling, and it just, the weight of the shuttle pulled enough, and see how this is looser? Sometimes you can accidentally do that too loose, and then you got to go back and make your tension tighter. But this is the loom for a chain. You just want to hold this part open. There's nothing coming all the way around back into the pinch. It's just a half ring, if you will. Okay? And I still didn't do that right, so let's tension that a bit. Under, over, flip, down. Over, under, flip, down. Almost did an accidental picot there. See how I got my tension was off and I made an extra little bump? Happens. Comes with practice. Scoop, under, over, flip, down. Over, under, flip, down. Scoop, under, over, under. Scoop, under, over, under. Again, it's very easy to see if they're not flipped because they will be the wrong color. Unflipped, wrong color. So you just retro it out. I think I did end on a stitch. So let's see how many we've got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a good amount. Let's do 10 so it matches our ring just to see what that looks like. 10 stitches. There's 9 and 10. Okay, like I said, see how they're kind of straight and weird. They do naturally curve, and especially if you're a tight tatter, they'll curve more because you're so tight. I'm trying to practice being a looser tatter because I would have a death grip in my pinch and it would change the color of my fingers. See how they're naturally, and if you hold them, then they turn white. But hold that in the pinch and just kind of snug them up, and you're just kind of creating that lovely arch that you're aiming for. And again, we do the floofy dance, and you can really see that picot, that accidental picot. It's almost like I did it on purpose, but I promise you I didn't. I was trying to be good. But you can see how you can really make that into something. So for practice, I would just keep going 10 and 10, 10 and 10, 10 and 10. If you would like, you can make a little, edging if you wanted to. There are no picots to worry about. If you want to give yourself a little bit of a challenge, we go back to our Handy Hands sand dollar pendant. Remember, we made earrings last time. We just did this part. Ooh, I'm sorry, that's very shiny. Let's try that. We just made the earrings last time. So this time, I would challenge you to maybe try starting on the pendant. It looks like that. There's a diagram. There's also a picture. It's rings and chains, very, very simple. You have your legend, and here. These have picots in it. This means picot. The dash means picot. And if not, if you're not quite ready to tackle this on your own, then stay tuned to the next video, because we will talk about reading a pattern and how to do this and how to join it all together. And we're going to be using this pattern to talk about, and we're not going to walk through the pattern because I want you to do it on your own without just watching a video and mimicking me. I want you to do your own thinking. This is homework if you really want to think of it that way, but there's no teacher to grade and nothing like that. But this is really, really good practice. So if you want to give yourself a challenge, go download the Sand Dollar Pendant adapted by Kendra Goodnow and do the pendant part. And if you really want to get some extra practice, make another earring. And then when you're done, you'll have a pair of earrings and a pendant, and you'll have a little necklace thingy to go with. So that's all I have for you today. Sorry, my brain just went on vacation right there. It's back now. But just practice making rings and chains. Practice and see what happens if you don't reverse your work, and what happens to your rings and chains, and how your chains look and move and change differently. Next video, we're going to talk about Ringhead Joe. He's my favorite fella. He's an invention from Miss Gloria Nelson from Starlight Creation Studio. And sparkling light, I always get that wrong. It's a light. Anyway, and she has graciously given me permission to use him on camera. He is my favorite guy, so I can't wait to introduce you to Ringhead Joe next time. In the meantime, keep practicing with your rings and chains. Keep going. You can do it because you are the master of the thread. You have opposable thumbs and scissors. Have a great day, everybody.